Well, as spring approaches, people spring into action, and the savvy outdoorsmen or women are here, and they're from REI, and that is absolutely the place to get what you need for summer sports. Clare Stevens and Rachel Corona are specialists at REI, and they're joining us today to talk about biking. Thanks so much for being here this morning.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, so yeah, spring is here, things are warming up, ready to get on that bike and go for a ride.
And get outside. You know,
Yeah.
we're all about, REI is all about getting people active and getting people outside, so we're really into inspiring people to jump on a bike, especially now with the weather being as
Right.
great as it's going to be. We're pretty lucky given the fact that other parts of the country are experiencing tsunamis and things like that. I mean, we have beautiful weather here. So an easy way to get involved is just to get on a bike, because there's so many different levels, and there's so many different types of biking that you can get involved in, and we're all about that at REI.
Absolutely, yeah. One of my favorite stores. I'm big into outdoors, and I'm actually trying to get into biking now, so I've been looking for bikes. And what are some of the other benefits to biking?
There are a ton of benefits. I mean, healthy, it's so important to stay active. You know, it's all about, I mean, we're all about inspiring people to get outside, because it's just, it's fun, it's healthy, and it's a great way to just keep you mentally clear and keep your body just moving. So it's really, I mean, it's a great activity, definitely.
Absolutely. Okay, now I need some tips. So, like I said, I've been to many stores looking for a bike. I want to get into my mountain biking, but I know you have to start probably, you know, in the beginner level. What types of things do you look for when purchasing a bike?
Well, there are a number of things that you look for.
If you're getting into mountain biking, you're going to want to consider what type of mountain biking. If you're doing downhill or cross country, that'll determine the type of suspension you're looking for.
Right.
Most likely you're going to want at least a front suspension.
And what is a front suspension?
So it's basically shocks in the front. So when you're going over big bumps or taking a big jump, the bike will absorb the shock for you instead of your body taking it all.
So you don't get thrown off the bike, right? And brakes, too. Brakes are a big deal. And I know there are disc brakes, and there are other kinds of brakes.
Right.
I don't even know where to go on that. What
I mean,
do you
there's
do?
so many different ways. You can start with, like, I mean, I love mountain biking. So I started recreationally biking because it's easy. You sort of sit up on the bike and you have your hands out. It's really comfortable. With mountain biking, you're leaning a little bit more forward. You have a lighter frame. You want a really strong bike because you're taking a lot of kind of hits. I mean, it depends on what level you want to do. I mean, I'm kind of more nervous. I've broken my wrist mountain biking before, so I'm a little more careful when it comes to stuff like that. But every bike is different, and so it's really important that you come into a store. It can be REI, it can be another local store in the community, and really get some information. It depends on what you're interested in doing. It depends on where you're going to be biking. There's some great trails in Albuquerque, so I'm sure if you're mountain biking, come in and we can tell you all about it.
Absolutely beautiful. And you have a bike over here. Tell me a little bit about that bike.
So this is the Novara Karima. It's a women's road bike. We have one higher level than this. It's actually the Pro, which is a racing bike. This would be an everyday person's racing bike, so something that I would use since I'm not a professional athlete. It's got a carbon fork, which again is really great for absorbing shock. Road bike will also have drop bars in the front, which is really good to put you in a tuck position. It makes you much more streamlined. This particular bike also has toe baskets on the pedals, which is kind of an intermediate step. So you go from a flat pedal to a basket and then to a clipless pedal, which is when your shoe and the pedal are actually one.
Right. You can actually clip your shoe. I would be kind of scared to do that, but is that actually help you have more control?
It's a little scary at first, yeah. I've
become one with the bike.
You get a lot more pull out of it. So rather than just pushing on the pedals with your foot in the cleat, you're actually pulling up as well.
Oh, so it's easier to go uphill.
You're doubling your strength, basically.
Ah, well then maybe I should work my way. Okay, and I noticed, you know, the difference between men's and women's bike. A lot of times with the bar at the top.
Right.
So does it matter?
Women's and men's bikes do have a different geometry. It will be determined by the height of the bike as well as the length of the bike.
Okay.
Women's bikes are usually a little bit shorter because women have shorter torsos.
Right. Okay. So the bar length at the top, is that a myth? Does that have anything to do with it being a men's or?
When you're fitting the bike, when you stand over the bike, that bar length, the inches between yourself and the bar length are pretty important. It just depends on the bike itself. Like REI is really focused on women-specific bikes. They've done a lot of research on, you know, our hips, the way that we sit, the way that we stand. And they've really looked at the specs and kind of tried to use that technology and that information to build a bike that's very woman-specific. So.
Okay, now when you're going biking, of course, you have to have the bike, and you probably won't get shoes to go biking, but what about all this gear you have?
So,
what is this?
I mean, with clothing, it's we have some cute stuff here. We have a little biker chick jersey.
that's
We've got
really
the little
cute.
pockets in the back for your goo and stuff like that. You want a wicking fabric because obviously you're going to be sweating.
Right.
We also brought a little skirt, which has got the cross strap band in the front so it doesn't buckle when you're leaning over. You've got the cushion for when you're sitting on the bike.
Oh, and it's cute, so it looks like
Yeah,
Yeah,
we try to
exactly.
stay really
Like
stylish. We brought some gloves because you want to make sure you have sort of cushioning on your hands to absorb shock.
Okay.
Helmet, so important. Safety. I mean, we're all about
I don't go
that.
anywhere on my bike without my helmet,
No.
even if it's just down the block.
Yeah.
Yeah,
know.
absolutely. Because, I mean, isn't it fairly easy to take a tumble?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How does that
definitely.
happen?
Well, especially if you're riding around traffic, a lot of times you have to stop a lot faster than you expect. Sometimes you actually will buck yourself off your bike.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh. So, yeah.
So safety first. And then, of course, hydration. We live in the desert, so you can't
Yeah.
really go anywhere without water on you. Traditional water bottles will fit in your cages, but a lot of people like to use camelbacks because you have that hose handy. You don't need to reach down while you're biking.
Reach
You
around.
can just reach
Right.
around. You've also got
that's key.
pockets then available for your power food and gels, and maybe your safety kit too. So flat repair is another thing around here. There's a lot of goat heads out there.
Yeah.
So,
Your tires will go flat in a second.
You'll go flat a lot. Slime is really useful to fill in those holes so you don't have to change the tire every time. But if you do, tire levers, patches, a pump, those are all good things to carry with you.
Okay, so you should bring the pump with you.
Absolutely. This is actually a bike pump. So there are floor pumps that you'll keep at home, and this is actually a traveling pump. You can attach this right to the bar of your bike, and then you
okay.
don't have to carry it on you. The bike will carry it for you.
And can you guys like help attach these things to
Oh,
the
sure.
bikes? Because I would not
Absolutely.
even know.
Absolutely. If
Yeah.
you come in,
great.
we'll go through it all with you. We have a huge selection of product, and so it's fun coming in and just shopping, and we have so many accessories, and it's a good time.
Well, it's
shopping.
definitely getting closer to that time of the year. Now, are there any
Absolutely.
events coming up as far as cycling or groups where you can get more involved?
Yeah, absolutely. REI, we have clinics, a number of clinics. We have one next week, actually, Wednesday, where you're going to learn kind of bike maintenance basics. There are a number of trails that we can sort of lend you information or give you our bike maps.
The Albuquerque bike map is very useful. It lists all of the trails in the city, some of the foothill trails as well. So if you're commuting and you want to get around, this is a very useful resource. We have these at REI too.
And there are all sorts of bike races. I mean, this community is fantastic.
And our lovely
Oh,
model.
we have another
Almost
bike.
Just in time.
Wiped out.
Mike's on more of a recreational bike. He looks good.
It's
Good
light.
job.
It's
They're
very
just a little
light, by
wobbly.
the
You might
way.
need to head over and get some
I
lessons
love it. It's very, very light.
on Wednesday.
Extremely light.
Of course, REI is located at 1550 Mercantile Northeast in Albuquerque. The website is rei.com/Albuquerque. Claire and Rachel from REI, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having
and
us.
We look forward to hearing much more about mountain biking. And of course, we'll be talking about that later on. And of course, coming up, we'll be talking about cooking. That's coming up after the break.